Now, other interesting business news, you have Uber reaching their first operating profit. Finally. Which, you see this with a lot of big tech companies. Really, when you start everything from Facebook to Twitter to Amazon, you have many years where you just bleed. Fiscally speaking, you're losing money. And the whole goal is to gain market share. You want to have the greatest number of users, which is unfortunately why there's not much of an incentive to get rid of bots on a lot of social media platforms. But I digress. Uber, for many years, they had the biggest market share. They want to see how much they can get. So it looks like they've just announced their first operating profit, and it was $326 million Q2, or the fiscal second quarter. So that's astonishingly great. They actually beat expectations. So that's even better. And it looks like in terms of their expectations, their net income, that was $394 million instead of the projected loss of $49.2 million. So anytime you have an exponential, that's exponentially greater in terms of making money versus losing money, that's ridiculously good. And everyone on Wall Street, well, I can only ponder what kind of morally vacuous activities many of them are taking part in, but many of them are also probably celebrating at the same time. Now, in terms of the driving behind the numbers and why this thing should increase, they know that the number of trips and bookings actually increased by 26% this quarter. And they, of course, continue to just eviscerate the competition. Uber accounts for 74% of all ride-sharing apps. That is exponentially bigger. Now, the only real other competitor is Lyft, which that one's coming in about 26%. Maybe and of course with all these statistics, usually a margin of error. So there might be a 1 or 2% margin of error where you have a third party. I forget the name of it, but I believe there's a rideshare app in Austin, Texas, because the city actually banned the competition of the Uber at the time. So there might be 1 or 2, but in terms of overall sales, they do not even compare. Now, they're actually doing a lot better, fiscally speaking, than Lyft, because Uber, they actually have Uber Eats, which is where they just deliver your food, which makes sense. The infrastructure is already there. All you're doing is adding 1 or 2. Again, I don't mean to disparage people who code for a living. And again, I own a tech company. I'm on the business side of the equation. But you just have to add a bunch more lines of code. In terms of the concept of, hey, you have an app on your phone, you tell people what you want, where you want to order it. It's a couple extra steps, not to disservice the people that are doing it, but the concept's been proven. They're just adding the capability. So it makes sense that they're making a fair amount of money. And for some reason, Lyft didn't copy that. Now, there's a lot of competition. I believe you have Uber Eats. You also have Favor, which is more, I believe, in South Texas. You also have DoorDash, Postmates, and 12 other ones I can't remember because they're not good enough at marketing. So there's a lot of competition in the food delivery app. But again, if you already have that brand association and you already have the Uber app on your phone, well, you already know the brand. You trust them with your credit card already. They have your information. Why not just extra step get Uber Eats? So that was one of the big contributing factors of why they're starting to show profit. It'll be interesting to see how the mass adaptation goes. I astonishingly have some long distance family members where they don't have a driver's license even though they're of age. They just Uber for everything, which is astonishing. That, to me, the pinnacle of freedom was getting your driver's license at 16, taking the family car out on the road and having a blast, ideally with 3 pedals and a stick shift as the pure driving experience requires. But nowadays, the idea of car ownership is actually eluding many people. Some people that don't have a visceral reaction because of the high cost associated with some situations where stuff goes wrong with the vehicle. And their logic is, sure, Uber might cost a little bit more in some cases, but they don't have to care about the maintenance, they don't have to care about the insurance, and it's on demand, so they don't have to worry about parking as well, or gas price. Well, they have to worry about gas prices because it's passed on to them, but it's an interesting cultural evolution where some people are just abdicating from car ownership all entirely. It'll be interesting to see, does that trend continue, and do this proliferation of ride-sharing apps continue to grow in their usage? Or as people start to tighten their belt, do they order less things so that they don't have to pay for a $100 burger to be delivered to them, which, after all taxes, fees, and all that stuff, it's not just me that how many people still purchase it, even though it's 40-year hyperinflation, economic uncertainty, and people claim they're worried about it, but the spending habits are not correlating with what they're saying at this moment, at least from anecdotal and then some of the studies I've seen lately. So we'll see where they go from here. Now, I want to especially thank everyone for taking the time to tune in. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of August, so I greatly appreciate you taking the time to click that subscribe button Every time you do that, you help the channel grow and develop, and be able to get more resources to increase our capabilities for the softwares. So you maybe put some pictures up as we try to make them better and better. Also, don't forget to take the time to like and actually comment to the video. The feedback has also made the show a lot better. And also, finally, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.